come back home to enjoy myself for Christmas. Alright, this girl Caroline, she's a good friend of mine. She always have real life. But let me tell you this one time, this girl, she got the sweetest wine. That really blows my mind. This girl, she got the sweetest wine. Send shivers down my spine. Well, long time when I check Caroline for the real fine wine concoction. It make me eye touch the sky, me not lie, me body can't function. So soothing, just soothing, make me move in slow motion. You understand me, Capitan? This girl, she got the sweetest wine. That really blows my mind. This girl, she got the sweetest wine. Send shivers down my spine. Well,
Christmas time is here again. It's the fiesta, alignment with all your friends. It's the fiesta, got around the Christmas tree. It's the fiesta, be like Santa or Jolly. It's the fiesta, it's Christmas time again. Time to celebrate. Jesus Christ is born to save all of us. Time for family and real unity. Plenty food and drinks. Watch me paranging. All of we real hungry. Waiting for hand and turkey. It's all a lamp and dragon. We frolicking with big friends. Christmas is a joyous time for all of we top all our line. Wait to shack in we hand. Watch how we phone on back. Christmas time is here again. It's the fiesta, alignment with all your friends. It's the fiesta, got around the Christmas tree. It's the fiesta, be like Santa or Jolly. Oh, come, we faithful, joyful and triumphant. Oh, come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. Oh, come let us adore. Oh, come let us adore him. Oh, come let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Merry Christmas, everybody.
The original of all original, the outer, international. My name is Daddy G, better known General Grand. It's a Merry Christmas to you and you. Alright, everybody. Ha! We got this go chanting. Ha!
Hiya! It's Christmas, man. Never, never. Bring drinks, man. Bring sips. Your friends are here. Never. Bring drinks, man. Bring on drinks. I said to bring on sips, man. Never, never. Never, never. Never, never. Never, never. You say I'm passing by everybody. In Wheaton and in the country. Make sure you stock up your bar. Artists in America. Bring the mansion. Bring the babash. Bring the whiskey. Bring the brandy. Bring the butter. Bring the butter. Never, never. Never, never.
Can't you let when you're looking? 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 Wake up early Christmas morning to see me house don't have nothing. I don't know where my girlfriend gone. I don't care. I'm so hungry and care about her. I know you're living fast, so I jump in my car. No, you cannot hide from me, cause I'm man hungry. I don't know what to do, so I come in by you. Bring out the money to eat and dry bread too. Can't you let when you're looking? Can't you let when you're looking? Can't you let when you're looking? Can't you let when you're looking?
Hey, left New York, come Trinidad, everything cool, everything real fine. Long time me no come back home to enjoy myself for Christmas. Alright, this girl Caroline, she's a good friend of mine. She always have real life. But let me tell you this one time, this girl she got the sweetest wine. That really blows my mind. This girl she got the sweetest wine. Send shivers down my spine. Well, long time me no check Caroline for the real fine body can't function. So soothing, just soothing, make me move in slow motion. You understand me, Capitan? This girl, she got the sweetest wine. That really blows my mind. This girl, she got the sweetest wine. And shivers down my spine. Well,
Christmas time is here again. It's the fiesta. Alignment with all your friends. It's the fiesta. Got around the Christmas tree. It's the fiesta. Be like Santa or Jolly. It's the fiesta. It's Christmas time again. Time to celebrate. Jesus Christ is born to save all of us. Time for family and real unity. Plenty food and drinks. Watch me paranging. All of we real hungry. Waiting for hand and turkey. It's all a lamp and children. We frolicking with the friends. Christmas is a joyous time for all of we top all our line. Wait to shack in we hand. Watch how we phone over. Christmas time is here again. It's the fiesta. Alignment with all your friends. It's the fiesta. Got around the Christmas tree. It's the fiesta. Be like Santa or Jolly.
Oh, come, be faithful, joyful and triumphant. Oh, come ye to Bethlehem. Come.
This Christmas gonna be different, all you best take this from me. This year I'm spending Christmas with my Indian family. Me Saruba and Mausi, Uzi and Chinani. We have a parent group start practicing already. Daddy amo de lele and lele landalal. Amore, more, 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 lele landalal. Daddy amo de lele and lele landalal. Amore, more, 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 lele landalal. It ain't go be no ham, no pasta, neither turkey. Curry, duck and dal, come and fowl and roti. Knocking with a block, we do like and dantal. Wishing Merry Christmas and having a ball. Daddy, I'm a
Parang fed up inside the grande. I met this Indian beauty out there.
yes, indeed. A pleasant good night to all and sundry. I mean, it is not yet the penultimate, but certainly is pretty close enough for us, of course, to enjoy some of the season's offering. The season of Christmas, of course, whether you are Christian-oriented or whether you are mundane or what I consider to be carnal. But the fact of the matter is that one way or another, in the context of Trinidad and Tobago, we share and we, of course, we enjoy, and therefore there should be no exception. Let's hear.
Pretty dancing, pretty grinding. Oh, really? Mamma mia! If you see the sweet muchacha, Grandpa come from Calcutta. The way she's shaking up, she bamba. I saw she come out for some action. Ole, 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 she shouted. The whole party now stop and watch it. Oh, she nearly drive me crazy, singing this pretty melody. Love it.
Gucci, 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 la la. Good love that man.
Yes, indeed, of course. Pleasant good night to all and sundry once again, east, west, north, south, central. Our friends in Tobago and wherever you are streaming on the World Wide Web, a pleasant good day to you. This is, yes, the corridor transformation. And of course, as we promised last night, as of necessity and of priority, and while, of course, we look at the geopolitical issues, whether it be from a global perspective, or whether it be from a hemispheric perspective or a regional perspective, whether it is from a domestic perspective, we have a duty and responsibility to be accurate, to, of course, familiarize ourselves with what is happening around us. That is why we have 5 senses, you know. We have 5 senses to make certain that we are aware of our environment, because one of the basic reasons for living, or every living thing, must, of course, be aware of their surroundings, because you move in a particular way biologically, but also the reason for that is that you must move to get food. Yeah, you must move to get food. And you also move to, of course, avoid danger. But at the same time, your ears have a particular function, your eyes, your nose, your of course, your skin, to look at the temperature outside and to know when to get out of the burning sun or the very cold wind or rain that sometimes affect us here in the tropics. But of course, whether you are living in the temperate zone or what is considered to be the tropics, and some say the torrid zone, the fact of the matter is, in other words, near the equator, where it is considered to be the hottest. But the fact of the matter is that all of these senses come together to make certain that you be conscious of your environment. It also aids, of course, in your edification. You cannot tell me that you got bitten, but let's say from a snake or a scorpion, yeah, and you don't know after that is to avoid that scorpion. Well, that is because your senses have, of course, triggered in the brain or in your memory segment of your brain to tell you, no, once you see that, because your eyes will see it, and of course, your skin would have felt the sting, and of course, your body would have responded appropriately as a consequence of the poison that would have been in that sting. That is the fundamental functions of these things in the operation of our biology that we take for granted but is significant. Without them, ask, of course, the unsighted. Ask the unsighted. Ask those who have difficulty or impaired speech. They will tell you. And of course, ask those who cannot hear or have an impairment as far as hearing is concerned. And you will understand, those of us who have all of these faculties, we must, of course, be able to use it to optimum advantage for the what? For the promotion and the sustainability of the species as a whole, but each one of us as a unit in that species called the human race, we have a duty and responsibility to, of course, protect ourselves. Why am I saying that? Why have I gone there? Well, I've gone there because we are social animals as well. We are gregarious animals. We live in groups, just as the bees and the ant and so on, and therefore we specialize in various areas, just as the bees and the ant. They, of course, they are those who are responsible. The queen is responsible for the production, the procreation, the sustenance, the adding to, of course, members of the ant family or the bee family, the hive they call it, or the nest. in the case of the ants, but the fact of the matter is that you have the workers and you have, of course, those guards or those who have very sharp mouth parts that will bite through the skin of people if they only interfere because they are soldiers. Well, it's the same thing in the human context. Of course, there are various sociological, should I say, explanation, and of course, other kinds of what I consider to be definitions. There's different types of sociologists, for example, and the sociologist that sees the society as a human, should I say, settlement, a human coming together. The functionalist sociologist sees society as a body, and therefore every single part is important, and the extent to which one is neglected, it is to the detriment of the body itself, and therefore they ascribe and they give that analogy to, of course, sociology or that sociological arrangement in what is called, of course, today society, so that the garbage cleaner or the garbage collector is as important as the doctor. You doubting me? Well, let those scavengers and those persons who are responsible for cleaning our streets and taking away the garbage or the refuge after you would have created that or discard these items that you don't want. Let them leave it there for 2 months. Let them leave it for a week. Let them leave it for 2 days. And you will understand how important the scavenger or the garbage collector is. And I don't talk. Common sense, they say, make before book. And therefore, I don't need to have to further appeal to your rationality and your common sense to conclude that in those circumstances and as far as the society is concerned, every single functionary in the various areas of operation or vocation is critical to, of course, the sustenance and the well-being of the entire grouping or the society as it is called. I don't need to go further. Of course, there are different types. We can argue that whole night, but of course, what I love is the functionalist sociologist concept that the society is equal to the body, and every single part is, of course, critical for its proper functioning, and as a consequence, its health and its, of course, well-being. That being as it may, I have a wonderful program for you tonight, of course, but we continue with that video that I said because it has a certain connotations, and I will give you some annotations as well. There are connotations, and I will stop at certain points because there are certain notes that we must take, annotations that we must take, as we, of course, look at what transpired in St. Vincent last week. Very historic, I must say, but I also want to bring it into the context of Trinidad and Tobago, and, of course, the ineffectiveness, if not the total and absolute neutrality. I should say neutrality, that may be an inappropriate word, but certainly the non-engagement by our Prime Minister, who, having, of course, roamed all over the world, give us the impression that somehow he is an international, regional, and hemispheric statesman. But he could even be at the head table. It was Mayor Muttley, who obviously would have been someone that would have been not expected to be there, simply because before the lead up to this particular occasion, We knew it was Gonzalez. We knew it was the representative of the Brazilian president. We also knew it would have been, of course, the United Nations, and we know as well it would have been the current chair of CARICOM. But here it is, Motley was there. Why? Because she is seen, if not equal, but of course at the similar level to that of Ralph Gonzalez. Ralph Gonzalez was not seen as a senior statesman in the context of the Caribbean, but certainly, and CARICOM, but certainly Motley was, and therefore out of respect, she was invited clearly at the head table. Rowley wasn't. He was a mere spectator. And there goes, of course, my argument when I started by saying that we have to use our senses and our common sense in order to analyze that situation as well. And to let you know that all of the gallery, all of the overtures, all of the bravado, and all of the attempt to demonstrate to Trinidad and Tobago as if we are fools, that he is more than what he is. The man is a classic case of inferiority complex. You know what I say? I say that Rowley is a classic case of inferiority complex because only a man before he came in would talk about, of course, people say he too black to be prime minister, he too black to head the PNM. And then he told us inside of that as well, that of course somebody tried to kill him because somehow he was this, as we know now, of course, fake, and of course, a phantom advocate for anti-corruption. He was an anti-corruption. He was a corruption buster, in other words, at one time. And then he went on to, of course, write his own book before, I say his autobiography, before he came into the office. When he knew that he was coming, he wrote a bio of himself. And of course, what he was, and the title itself is very, very ludicrous, laughable, stupid, and does not represent, as he would normally do, the truth, as he does not represent the truth himself, being, of course, a fake, and the things that he would have said, also fake, and the things that he represented, also fake. But, of course, pretending that the population will, of course, overlook those kinds of shenanigans, those kinds of deceptions, that kind of total disgrace that he has, of course, proliferated in the office of Prime Minister, because in his biography, the man said that it's from where? It's from where? The place that he said is close to Likoto. Yes? He said it's from Mason Hall to Whitehall. Mason Hall to Whitehall. Well, let me tell you something. Whitehall wasn't existing in that time when he, of course, wrote that. The office of the Prime Minister would have been either in the Twin Towers, Eric William Financial Complex, or in St. Clair. In St. Clair, opposite, of course, QRC College. Yeah, that is the kind of madman we have, and self-praise and self-opinionative, and of course totally dogmatic, but with a keen sense of inferiority complex. And I could continue in terms of the evidence to demonstrate that, because he's the first Prime Minister I know always saying that as Prime Minister, I did this, as Prime Minister, I did that. And all of the things of which he spoke would have been things that could be considered to be easy, should I say, evaluation for the law enforcement agencies to take note of and to investigate. As Prime Minister, I did this, and as Prime Minister, I did that. You hear him all the time, and you may recall, and somehow arrogate unto himself the status of senior statesman. He might be older than everybody else, but whether he's a senior statesman is a different story. Whether he's a senior Prime Minister at all, because let's face it, he is there only 8 years. Only 8 years, one term and the nearing on the end of another, and 2 terms is considered to be 5 years. 2 terms is considered to be 10 years, and a term 5 years. So we know. So let us not waste time in terms of that character who clearly engages, of course, in histrionics and theatrics, and of course body language that suggested that somehow he is some kind of demigod, part human, part, of course, devil in this case. Part human, part devil, a demigod, of course. A demigod in its natural definition will be, of course, part human and part God. But with this guy, is part human and part devil, because he's totally can be classified in that regard, having regard to his performance and his evil that he has perpetrated against the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So, people, tonight, I thought it was important, of course, to raise that issue as we look critically at what transpired on Thursday, and of course, the role of Gonzalez and the role of our own Prime Minister, and the aversion, at minimum, temporarily, the almost at one time prior inevitable conflict between Venezuela and Guyana. But tonight, at the end of this video, what I want to discuss, so have your ideas there. I want to discuss whether or not Rowley once again has lost for Trinidad and Tobago an opportunity to be on the world stage in a realistic and significant way. Why didn't Rowley, in spite of, or if even because of the flooding of the opposition, take the initiative and talk at least to Maduro? We know that Guyana, he will not be seen as a fair interlocutor. They wouldn't see him as that, because the same thing we know, the Guyanese know, that he has done everything in support of that evil, diabolical, atrocious, macabre, and devilish regime headed by Maduro. So we know the atrocity to his own people. 27 million people, 46 million have migrated, and they didn't do that because they love him. Rowley, that is a rationality for Rowley and them. Rowley and them, and of course, his Minister of Foreign Affairs will tell us that the people leave Venezuela because they love. They love, of course. Let's go straight to the lines. All right, good. Let me see if I can get it. All right, let's see. Yes, let's go straight to the lines. Pleasant good night. Sorry about that. Welcome. Well, welcome and sorry for the delay. Pleasant good night. Lost that one, boy. All right, I'll tell you. All right, good. Let's see. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Oh, good night.
Pleasant good night.
Lennox. How are
Welcome.
you today? Yes.
Hello?
Hey, yes, can you hear me, Lennox?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear. Yes. I'm hearing you loud
Okay,
and clear. Go ahead.
All right, good. So, this issue with Venezuela and Guyana, this is just my opinion, that they never really needed to have a meeting in St. Vincent. There was never a need for that, because the ICJ issued a ruling, December 1st, right? Saying that Venezuela cannot take any action. And Guyana was like, yeah, we're supporting that. But Venezuela, President Maduro, he said, we don't care about the ICJ. and everybody else is relying. We are like the whole Caribbean, United States, UK. Everybody else is saying, yeah, the ICJ has a solid ground to make that decision. And so I think what it should have happened was that instead of having this meeting, they should have waited and see what Venezuela would have done, because it's like it's like building up something that's just meaningless, because by meeting with Venezuela, I mean, it was just showing that, hey, we have some kind of solidarity here. But he went back to Venezuela and he said, the Escobedo is ours. So it just, to me, we just have to wait and see what his move will be, and whether Russia will come down here with some submarines and say, hey, we're standing with Venezuela. And who else? Maybe China might come in. Whether Cuba would support Venezuela, we know they would. But I wanna jump on another topic if I can. Can I do that?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, this is what
All right. And
your
this is
presence is all about. Yes, go ahead.
kind of frightening just to me, okay? Really freaking frightening. I heard on the news today. I was listening to CNC3, and the woman who is the general counsel for ethical training, I think her name is Angelique Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Angelique Potter, and she was giving a presentation at the Hyatt today to all the board members and the shareholders of Massey Stores, and Massey
Uh-huh.
is a multi-billion-dollar company. And
Yes.
in that report, her presentation, she gave a 13-page report, and she said that the company is spending millions upon millions of USD on training employees as part of a program that they have to go through on communicating with the dead, speaking with the dead, and also in using white light to self heal. And she sent this report, she made this comment among hundreds of people. And she's a very, very educated person. She looks French white, I think. Anyway, and she's a Trini. So she made this revelation, and she presented the documents to Garvis Warner, who is the CEO, the executive,
Yes.
and he stood up and he said, yes. He said, that is our secret to success at Massey Stores. That blew my mind. That freaking blew my mind. Is it real? Is this normal for a big company to admit that they train employees to speak to the dead, and they spend millions of USD when people can't get USD to send their children to college or to pay for supplies that they need down here? I just don't understand why this is normal. You think that's normal, Lennox?
No,
I
I
don't
don't.
know.
And in fact, while I'm hearing you and I am assimilating it and analyzing it, I am in a state of disbelief. I say to myself, I have to see that to believe it. But go ahead, I will do my investigations and make certain and confirm, of course. And I will be the first to come and confirm. But go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, her name is Angelique Parasol Potter.
All
And
right.
and you have to understand, the reason Warner believes in this stuff. We're talking about trying to make Trinidad science and technology driven. We're trying to have facts and truth, and yet we're speaking to the dead. I just don't get that. I just don't. That's why they always want you to pray. They want you to, the government supports that. Maybe they have some kind of a cult going on too. That sounds cultish to me. Every time something happens in this country, they want you to pray to God and speak to the dead, and it's just, I feel like I'm living in insanity, to be honest. I just give up. I give up.
I hear
That
you.
was
I
my
hear you.
comment. So maybe
I hear you. I hear you. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. I mean, as I said, I am spellbound. I am flummoxed,
I think you're
and
dumbfounded now.
yes,
You sound dumbfounded, aren't
yeah,
you?
yeah. And I'm almost in a state of ineffability. I'm at a loss for words. I mean,
Me
I
too.
am
I just I heard
a
it's on
huge
YouTube.
company in the context of Trinidad and Tobago, with of course wings spread throughout the Caribbean, and that is the kind of leadership you are talking about in terms of dallying in these kinds of occultic should I say it's not even is not even it isn't even sounding like
Well,
metaphysics.
let,
It's
let,
not
let,
even
let,
sounding like that. It isn't sounding like
no,
metaphysics. It's sounding like pure
but
superstition. But go ahead, my friend.
this is what frightens me. It's that Nazi stores hires a lot of Trinidad Africans. And it's like Trinidad Africans during plantation days, they were doing a lot of like the obia stuff, and
Yeah, voodoo
they
and
were
yes,
shaman and all that stuff. And it's like
yeah, all these
The
kinds of
Massa has the
incantations. Yeah.
plantation going. The plantation is still going. It sounds like the plantation at Massey's store is alive and well. And Christmas time, let me see if they're gonna throw ham and have a crowd of people fight each other for ham. And you know what, they did that a few times, didn't they, in the past? And I don't respect Massey anymore now. And I just don't. I don't like the way they should be teaching employees maybe how to improve their lives. Maybe give out loans to people instead of spending millions of dollars. Help them so they could improve their own standard of living. I just don't understand why you would spend millions on teaching people how to communicate with the dead. And Mr. Warner actually said that. He said, "Yeah, that's our secret to success." And I
As
I don't
I
know.
said, I have to read it to believe it. I'm being fair
So
and frank with you. I have to read that to believe it.
yeah,
I
it
mean, that
probably,
kind of
but
incantation talk,
yeah,
that kind of conjurations. I don't expect that to be a policy of a particular conglomerate. I expect that to be people's personal choice, and it is
you think
not, of
maybe
course,
do you think
should I
maybe
say, demonstrated in any seminar or workshop or training program for employment or as an employee in a particular institution, such as Neil and Marcy is. So we have to do some evaluation. Yes, I agree. Go ahead.
I think I was going to say maybe the government is using massive training program too. It's taking massive training on government employees, and
So they might be
I
using
think
that model. They're using that model
that's a
over the
good one.
people. I sincerely have to see that. I'm telling you,
All
I
right,
have to see it. I have to see it. I
all
really
right,
have
have
to
a
see
good one.
that. Yeah, so I'm going to
Okay,
certainly take a look at it. You see, it was where
all
where
right.
the occasion was.
It
It
was
was in
at the
one of the
Hyatt.
in
And
Hyatt.
also,
Hyatt.
you could watch. It was at the Hyatt today, and it was
Okay, good.
also in the news, the CMC3 news on YouTube. If you look at tonight's
All
news,
right.
it
Well,
was
yeah,
on like
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find. I'm sorry that I'm here now. Otherwise, I'll go immediately. But because that is
yeah.
something for immediate attention. But that being as it may,
All
we will
right,
we will look at it, and I'll come back to you tomorrow with, of course, the information. All right.
all right. Take care, my
All right.
friend.
Yes, indeed. Of course. Don't forget, people. Of course, the number to call 337-6940 right now. 337-6940. And as I said, if someone is talking too long because there's another person on the line, so I will inform them. But on this occasion, there wasn't such a situation, and therefore she was able, of course, to express her what I consider to be very disquieting and queer, if not if not enigmatic. I mean, it is simply puzzling. It is an enigma that, of course, that will happen and is commonplace in a particular conglomerate such as Neil and Massey. But let's, of course, go straight, of course, to the to what we plan to talk about tonight, because, as I said, at the end of the exercise, we will look at Dr. Rowley's role and whether or not his fake persona, his fake reality again can be identified, and we can, of course, say without fear of contradiction that what Rowley represents is a total and absolute charlatan. He is a fake and an indolent, a lazy person of exceptional qualities. Exceptional here meaning that the basis that you can find in a human being, because just for those sycophants on the live who, of course, will want to have as their leader or have concluded that their leader must be a pedophile and a rapist. I'm talking about Rowley, the leader of the PNM, and the what I consider to be a very horrendous and, of course, evil, diabolical, and clearly leading a lame duck administration, are talking about the prime ministerialship as well as the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago, that is prepared not only to undermine and disrespect our constitution and therefore our democracy, but is prepared, of course, to arrogate unto themselves that they are above the law and that they can, of course, infiltrate, render for them, null and void, the rule of law and disrespect for the separation of powers. Because, as you know, the executive, as government headed by Rowley, the legislature, which of course is the elected representatives essentially, and those selected in the case of the Senate, and of course the judiciary, the system that is supposed to be equally independent to adjudicate and to watch and observe, and when the information is brought to them, when the cases are brought to them, when the instances are brought to them, they are able, of course, to say that this is right and this is wrong according to law. But we have a third party, which is you and I. I don't consider the fourth estate or the media to be separate from the people in general. And we have a duty and responsibility to do what? Our job is to monitor all of them. All of them. The judiciary, the parliament or the legislature, the executive or the government. Because at the end of the day, we, the people, those who qualify because they are 18 years and over and so wish to exercise their franchise because they are Trinbagonians, must go to the polls with confidence and say that you have not functioned well. And in this case, of course, well is an understatement. I don't think it aptly describes the kind of decadence and the kind of maladministration and the kind of criminal behavior and the kind of misbehavior in public office, and of course arrogance to an unlimited degree that they suddenly believe that they can manipulate the resources of the country, including financial and material, get their 1%, of course, to dominate the various mechanism of communication. I'm talking here about the same media, and then, of course, they can and believe that that will sustain them so that they can stay there and continue with their shambolic behavior. I say to you, that is an impossibility. Rowley is, of course, in a state of perpetual illusionment. I like to call it, of course, as the psychologists will call it, manic depressive psychosis. A total state of a misrepresentation of the reality of Trinidad and Tobago, and believe and continues, of course, by his conduct to believe that all of us are asses, and therefore we will, of course, succumb to the false, the fake, and the projections, the false projections, the fake projections that he has come to, of course, be well known for. But he can only fool them who, because of his position and the sticky fingers that they have and their hands up the jar, the cookie jar of the treasury of the country, and then arrogating that somehow they are political guru. They are political boo-boo. Guru what? Rowley and they are political boo-boo. Understand that there is nothing sacrosanct about them, and therefore they must feel the wrath of the people as we, at the appropriate time, will of course adjudicate, and we will adjudicate fiercely. We will adjudicate justly. We will adjudicate forcefully, and of course all roads lead to the collective consensus, or put another way, I prefer to use the term in terms of coming together, I would say with unanimous adjudication and decision that they must get the hell out of office, all of them, lest we risk, people, among the various risks, we risk a social upheaval of a nature that none of us would like. We can only reflect on, of course, 1970 and 1990. We can only reflect. And it is Rowley and they who believe. And I always equate them to those experiences inside the ghetto. Every single young fella that holds a gun, that engage in violence, robberies, etc. And even if you may not see them in action, but because you didn't see them in action, they claim innocence. But those who don't, they will tell you in no uncertain terms, boy, I went down the road there and I did a robbery. And when the police went so, I went so. And they glamorize it. And my admonition to them, my advice to them, you see, because I have had numerous experiences of that kind. It was I who had 300 of that kind in one place called the MLIO Trade School in Fernandez Compound, a not too hospitable place. It is not as good as, let's say, the typical school that the government will construct for which students were supposed, of course, to edify themselves and, of course, make themselves better and become, of course, law-abiding citizens. No. But it was a singular effort. It was not like Rowley and them who occupy an ideology that is parasitic in nature. In other words, if they were not in government, you wouldn't see them. Where was Hines? Where was Rowley? Where was George Young? You wouldn't see them. But I, Lennox Smith, took the bullet by the horn, or took the bull by the horn, and bit the proverbial bullet, and took on those young people. So I am aptly and, of course, maybe overqualified to talk in that regard, and nobody could tell me otherwise, because none of them would have had that kind of experience, because none of them would have exposed themselves to that experience, no matter how educated they might have been. They are pure opportunists. So I could talk, and every in the normal course of things and the interaction with the over 9,000 young persons that graduated out of the MLIO program between 1984 and, let's say, essentially 2000, 2001. Because since the PNM came, I decided, well, I done with that, because they have been, of course, targeting me as the culprit, when in fact they are the ones who have abandoned these children and having a person like me to try to salvage. But no, because my political position is clear and it's not gravitating to them, and therefore I am considered to be public enemy number one to the PNM, and so they would victimize you. We will continue with, after, of course, this call. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night again, Lennox. Can I make
Yes, good night to you.
Can I converse? All right, when I listen to you speak, okay, now
Yes.
you speak proper English, you speak Trinidad English, but just you're grammatically correct when you speak, and I respect that. Now, I think in my mind you are an educated man when you speak. I hear what you're saying. I reach out and I grasp what you're saying, and it makes sense to me. So I learn from that, and you use you use your vocabulary is excellent. Now, when I listen to the Prime Minister, and you you just shared that you experienced children, Trini Afros living in the ghetto. I've never been to the ghetto in Trinidad, but I've been in poor villages where poverty people live, but there's poverty. You know what I mean? Like we all
Yes.
lived like that at one point. But what I'm saying is like I listen to the Prime Minister speak when he speaks to other delegates or diplomats, or when he's speaking to executives, like we'll use Massey for example, because he does a lot of those speaking engagements. He's very clear and he doesn't use slang and he uses good proper grammar and English. He fumbles and stumbles, of course, with his fingers and stuff. But when he speaks to the citizens of this country, when he speaks to the people in his constituency, he's literally speaking to all of us because he is the prime minister. And he changes everything. He yells at us. He uses bad grammar. He berates us. And he tries to be one of us because he'll say jokes like I was driving and I pull over and I thought I would get a beer. During COVID, he said this and I almost drank in public. Ha ha ha. And it was like we were supposed to say, oh, the prime minister, oh, he trying to drink a beer. See how he trying to, he breaking the law too, so he just like we. Or the example you gave a few days ago, you gave another example of where the prime minister was pretending to do something. And, like, I forget what it was. It slipped my mind so fast, but you gave a good example. And I was like, I'm adding these examples up and I'm saying to myself, oh yeah, when he got that call from some African scammer, remember, on his
Yes.
phone, and they wanted some stuff from
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
he
Yeah,
that that that
Bill
that
Gates. Bill Gates, he said call him
that
and make it public only
thank
because
you.
it has some kind of political benefit to him. So he thought, but
But
and
there's
the laugh
more.
was on him.
But
Yes,
yeah, but there's more to that because how long has that scam been going on here? That scam's been going on in America, all over places where they try to get people's information. Like when you lose your data, right, in a bank or like say a company lost the data and they breach it, and all your social security numbers or your ID card number, your national ID card number, your photograph, your phone number, all of that is stolen in the dark web. It gets sold to companies that use it to undermine and manipulate people. They get access to your information now and they'll play you for money. And it's a real thing that goes on. But the prime minister recently said that, even though it was going on for a long time here, and people still get scammed by it
yes,
sending money and they're doing it locally. And I feel like when he does this to us, when he speaks to us like that, it demeans us. It keeps us into the stereotype that is perpetuated by people who migrate and they laugh at us or they belittle us and they look down on us and they say that nothing will change. And nothing will change because you have to have leadership that clears the way to make change because they are the ones who are the gatekeepers. They help with manufacturing because they help write legislation for trade. They help with education because they want to make sure your books are updated and you have the cutting edge technology because a good leader will want his or her citizens to be the top of the line in education so you could invent, you could create, you could be masters of whatever we want so we could export it to other countries and make money. And nothing's wrong with that. But we're learning and we're sharing. He'll never do that because he is he falls into that white stereotype of the perception of black people out there. And I'm not blaming him, eh? I blame the system because they do it in Africa too. And in Western countries, like first countries, you'll see You'll see people talking and making jokes and saying, "Oh, look at them African leaders, man! Those African leaders, they so corrupt. They can't even lead their country right, and all their people want to run away. And when they come here, they talking like they're so free and they want to, First Amendment rights, and back in their country they won't speak up." And it's true.
I have
Isn't
another
that
person
true?
trying to
I
come
think
in,
it's true.
so yeah. I have another person trying to come in, so you'll have to wind up. Go ahead. Mm.
My comment is like what he's doing is he's not helping us, and we don't need leaders like that. We need leaders who, I don't want to say talk the white talk and talk white, but leaders who want to help us elevate ourselves, and it's not coming from the prime minister nor the PNM. That was
Yes,
my
you're correct.
comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Of course, we have another caller. I would have loved, of course, to continue the conversation because these kinds of conversations are extremely intellectually stimulating, and they test your own what I consider to be grit, and not just grit but commitment and dedication to the cause that we are all here on this live about. Let me see if I get that call to come across. I don't know if I will get it. Let me just accept it and see. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Are you hearing me? I have to do something about that. Caller, please call back. I have a double system here, and oh, good. Now I'm getting it. So let's see what's going to happen here. Right, good. All right, looking good. All right, good. Yes. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hi, good evening, Dr. Lennox.
Yes. Good night to you as well. Good evening to you. Yes.
Today, while going through my phone, I
Uh-huh.
noticed that Dr. Rowley picture, as they say, Dr. Rowley, which I do think he's no damn doctor, open a swimming pool in Malabar Rima for $11 million,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
I make a comment that like they want me to pay property tax, which every single piece of material I bought, I paid VAT on value added tax.
Mm-hmm.
How come they want me to pay property tax when they're wasting money all over the place? They can't fix the road right up in front of my house. About 12 potholes now, right? I went to the corporation and asked them for a little bit of gravel to pull up the hole. They tell me they have. But you spend $11 million to build a swimming pool in Malabar Rima. You know, within the space of about 2 minutes, Facebook tell me that they had to delete that what I put up there. Uh, yeah. So
Why?
I say, but like Facebook is a PNM institution now.
I
You can't
find that strange.
yeah, you can't say nothing. I have it on my phone there. It's still there. They say them going and delete it, not me. Them ask me to delete it. You know.
Or they are going to
Them
delete
tell-
it. You could you
yeah.
could you send the information for me? That's a very interesting development. We may have
Well,
to
well,
send
I'll
our
I'll look in.
concerns further
I'll look
afield.
in. I'll look in to see if I can find back the picture with him, and I can't find it back on the phone. I don't know which part. Like
Oh,
it just
all right.
disappeared.
All right. If you
But
do, if you do, please, really appreciate
but
that.
the part where they say them going and delete it, that on the phone.
But yeah, well, send that for me too.
Yeah.
I'll appreciate that. Yeah, whatever you have, whatever remnants of that, very concerning, information that you have shared with us. I think, this is about democracy, the right to speak, freedom of expression, and you
Well,
cannot
I
have
thought
it.
I
You
thought
cannot have it on one side and not on the other side. That flies
yeah.
in the face of natural justice, and it is simply not acceptable. It cannot be that you are heard, but I cannot be heard in a situation where you are accusing me, but I cannot reciprocate because you say so. You have the moral authority. You know everything, and everybody else knows nothing. That is a
They
piece
even
of madness and reeked with, of course, undemocratic principles and a threat to, of course, our democracy as well as promoting dictatorship and autocracy. Go ahead, my friend.
yeah, because after what they it even say that if I put enough thing to get likes. So I put up a post. I don't post nothing to get likes because likes don't put food on my table.
Right.
If if a million people like what I put, that don't put food on my table.
Exactly.
So I even post up that and all on my table to send that one for you because it's still on my page
Said,
and
said,
on
sir,
my book.
whatever you are concerned about that is
Yeah.
related to that, what I consider to be unfortunate at this level, prima facie, from the face of it, clearly is not healthy. Not healthy at all. And it's very troubling.
Yeah.
All right, my friend?
Yeah, okay then. Okay then, sir. Okay then,
Yes.
doctor.
Yeah, bye-bye. Boy, I ain't get that accolade as yet, but if you say so, well, that I could do with, it is part of the democracy. If somebody believes that you are a doctor, well, fine. If they, and on the other hand, if they believe that you are not, like Rowley, well, then of course that too is permissible. Of course, all other things notwithstanding and considered. That being as it may, of course. I saw another call was coming. Please call back, caller. As I said, I have to find a way to make certain that all the calls come this way rather than, of course, going two ways. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox. Calling from Tobago.
Yes, indeed. Sorry about that earlier.
You remember something where when they had election in Guyana, that they had sent someone from election and Bonjus to Guyana.
Yes.
With respect to the results from Guyana, right?
Miss Nasa Scope. The
right?
The elections officer. Yeah.
But you see, Rowley is not a smart fella. Rowley takes side, and he actually was backing Granger. Right? He was backing Granger.
Yes.
But you have to realize if you're a CARICOM leader, you have to be neutral in certain cases. You can't be taking a side. So the president of Guyana and his team realized what was going on and the way in which Rowley and that scope and all of them was operating.
Yes.
Until they reached a situation where they ordered she out of Guyana. Right? So this is wrong too now.
He did order her out of Guyana, you say? He did that?
No, the Guyanese people.
Oh, the Guyanese people were up
wanted her out and asked her to leave.
Yeah, all right. I will check that too because that's important. That's an important development. I'll tell you what afterwards. Thanks for that piece of information. I'll try to locate it. All right.
So I will tell you something too. He rolling now. End up in a bad spot with the president Guyanese, especially with the vice president. If you notice, he and the vice president always will be on a warhead. Because as he do so and he started talking nonsense, the vice president does get to his throat one time.
Yeah, for sure.
Let him know how he feel about him. So you realize now that even with this meeting that they had recently, Rowley could not be up in front at all.
No,
because these people and them don't want Rowley up in front or nothing.
Yeah.
He need to stay away from Guyana. Because with this situation where he finds himself with Maduro, these Guyanese people and them don't really appreciate him. And you see the problem about it right now. He has been the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. He's showing a bad thing on us as citizens of this country here. Because the relationship between Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana have never been so sour as how it is right now. Right? And Rowley need to think about what he's doing because he's a member of CARICOM. Guyana is a member of CARICOM. And he need to understand all the game that he's playing, that he might not work out the way he tell himself he will work out. Right? So Lennox, I'm listening and I want you to say work out because I know the president of Guyana, he's a very smart man. Because there's a matter in front of the International Court of Justice. Right? And no way he will be deterred by what Maduro want to do.
Yes.
Because all Maduro is talking about him mapping. That had nothing to do with the law. That have nothing to do with the law. You have to wait on the final decision from the International Court of Justice. right? He need to understand that and behave himself. He behaving as a bully because he tells you we have an army and Guyana is a very small country. Guyana is all about less than 1 million people.
Yeah.
So he tells you he could run through them as he wants. So that's why he's doing what he's doing. Right? So Lennox is up here
Yes, indeed.
and on the chat there too. All right.
Yeah. But every time I try to get to that video, some issue comes up. And I want to commend you callers because, I mean, the level of intelligence and the level of significance and is nothing otious, is nothing insignificant, is nothing irrelevant. Because the last caller, this guy from Tobago, certainly he understands and has evaluated the situation because Rowley, to be an honest broker, as he would of course question, Rowley will question from time to time whether or not one can be an honest broker when they show bias. Well, the fact that he has shown bias shows that he could not have been an honest broker. However, since he showed a bias for Maduro and Venezuela, and since his administration, and therefore he spearheaded a special relationship with Venezuela, nothing could have prevented him or precluded him. In fact, those elements of the kind of fraternization and the kind of one-on-one, and I say so not with any kind of intent or position that would water down the reality. The reality is that Maduro, Venezuela, and the Rowley administration, they have a beautiful, special relationship. From Delcy Rodriguez coming here and accommodating her, even when our own citizens were left outside in the cold, couldn't come in, they closed down, shut off the airways, but they were allowed to come in. Delcy Rodriguez and her team in COVID. Forget they did talk about, they came to talk COVID. We know that is hogwash. We know it's a figment of Dr. Rowley's continuous and perpetual and almost limitless. He has a limitless ability to concoct, manufacture illusions and deceptions and lies. His prevarications and his mendaciousness knows no limit. So we know that. We only have to, of course, reflect on the emails to know that. So let us not look at the whole question of whether they came here for COVID. That is hogwash, and that, of course, is irrational and another attempt, of course, to insult our collective and individual intelligence. Let us look at the relationship. Inside of all of that, there is a beautiful relationship that has evolved between Rowley administration and that of Venezuela. So hear what? Rowley must know that he is persona non grata as far as Guyana is concerned. So he couldn't be naive to want, of course, to broker some kind of cooling of tension, a cooling of the bellicose language that was a kind of recrimination by both parties, because whilst Guyana was talking in a manner that is not threatening, and while Venezuela was talking in a manner that was in fact threatening, the fact of the matter is that Guyana was not backing down. And the fact that the president could say, for example, they are talking with their allies. The only one ally they could have been referring to the big giant and the arguably the singularly most powerful country on the earth today, the United States. So it's all obviously that he was referring to. And the Venezuelans know that as well, whether they have the Russians there, they have the Cubans there, they have the Iranians there, etc. That is in America's backyard, and they will be they will take it differently to if they had, of course, to fight a war, let's say, to support Israel or to support the Taiwanese. That kind of logistical difference and geographic difference will make a huge impact and input in terms of the viciousness that America will come out if, of course, Venezuela would have attempted to take the Essequibo by force. But that being as it may, it does not take away. It does not take away. And the opposition leader was and is correct. She wasn't talking about as Avery Brown was attempting to assert. You had to be a backside. You had to be an ass. You have to be a nincompoop. You have to be obtuse. You have to be totally out of the loop to, of course, draw that conclusion. It is clear that the opposition was talking about the cozy relationship that Trinidad and Tobago under Rowley has with and still has with Venezuela. And therefore, in those circumstances, all the opposition was saying, as I am advocating and still would do, and still believe that there is a place for that kind of interaction, that Rowley could have easily picked up the phone or at least asked for an invitation to come across there and talk to Maduro and Delcy Rodriguez, who clearly is, of course, Maduro's sidekick, for want of a better term, just as, of course, Cho Chong is Rowley's sidekick. And, of course, there's no better term than that. Outside of that, Cho Chong is simply a moron. A moron. So it is clear, but they just try to play stupid and play smart with foolishness. And of course, for what they consider to be the ignoramus and their sycophants and their apologists, who would believe in a dribble coming from them fellas and them, or so they believe. Because you see, they never catered for programs like these in the night, every night, to analyze their shenanigans and their incompetence and their intellectually bereaved disposition. These fellas are in cognitive and intellectual decline. It is clear. One would have thought that when the opposition leader spoke of talking to Maduro, it could have only been Maduro the PNM could talk about. And I noticed I became very animated. I became very, of course, enthused and excited when I heard that Ms. Nasa Scopo was thrown out of, to some degree, out of Guyana around that time, because all of us know that Rowley was, of course, in support of the incumbent at the time, Granger, in Guyana, and that has emerged with a kind of animosity. Let's go to the lines. Pleasant good night, welcome. Good night, welcome.
Good night.
Good night.
You hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Loud and
Nice. Rowley going to check out the Congo partner, talk to the Guyana president who he does quarrel with. You could believe that?
You do what?
He going to line with the Congo partner to hear what discussion he gonna have with the president from Guyana who he does quarrel with and say the currency are good and this and that.
Yeah,
And
you're a smart fella. You're a smart fella. You have read another point that I was, observing, but I'm going to share it with you when, of course, you're finished with your presentation. Go ahead.
And just imagine the prime minister who had to orchestrate that whole discussion is the man who got busted for COVID.
Yeah, from his own people.
Huh?
From his own people. From his own people.
Yeah. You can imagine saying that. Rowley go there and sit down there and he must be watching Maduro over the eye and do need to gain him signal and telling him, boy, don't forget me, you know. I know with them fellas, you know. You understand?
Yes, yes, yes.
I don't know what the hell going on. He come back or he here or he still there.
Nobody knows whence he come or whence he goes. What we know is that he can't hold parliament because once two of them out of the country, parliament
Oh,
cease to function because there's only 22 of them. So when he and Sir John gone, there's only 20 remain. And afraid because somebody might fall sick, somebody may be unavoidably delayed, and the parliament will be ruled by the opposition, who has 19 seats. So every time he goes out, he vexed too bad because he would love to have longer holidays and so on. That is how indolent he is and living it up at our expense, and the time will come when it has to stop.
but you know, Lennox, to me since 2015, since he come in, there had no parliament. It's only have bawling and screaming and shutting down the opposition. It does not parliament. Parliament is a place to talk out things.
Yes, of course. The term itself is a French term from the verb called parler. Parler is to talk.
Parler to talk.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. And he said Georgia, who of course clearly has demonstrated her petticoat, so to speak, her PNM, a red petticoat on numerous occasions, and not to, of course, conclude that she is prepared, of course, to subvert the principle of parler, to talk.
But she had to do anything for she husband to break her jail with them divers, you know.
Well, boy, I find it hesitating to release that the report. I find it
Boy,
hesitating.
That go need people to either protest or ask like the freedom thing where you does, right?
Yeah.
The Freedom Act.
Yes. We as soon
That go
as
take that, and
the
then
appropriate time.
and let me tell you something. Even though that meeting where the president and the president of Venezuela, that meeting is saying that two of them could shake hand after Maduro is a madman. He could just say he even the ICJ, the man already say he ain't going out with the ICJ say.
He's a
You
smart fella.
understand?
You're a smart fella. You'll hear it tonight. Thank you for, of course, preempting what I had to say. So it makes it
All right.
easy for me. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Of course, with respect to the last matter, yes, the substantive matters have been put on the back burner. But that could have been dealt with by Maduro when he was making his overtures and his bellicose and aggressive and warlike tone across the border to make sure that it reached Georgetown. Yeah, it could have. It's because the substantive matter is that, and Maduro would have expected, because he went there, look him there, you see him behind me. He came with a map already including Essecubo, so he probably thought that Gonzalo and they would have been able, of course, to influence the Guyanese to, of course, give in and just give him the Essecubo just so. I would not put that beyond, of course, that of the thinking of this man, because he believes he has a very formidable army. That the Russians are there, the Iranians are there, the Cubans are there, and therefore he came armed to, of course, get a concession or a conceding by, of course, the Guyanese. But from Guyana, and on his way to St. Vincent, and on the St. Vincent soil, and of course to the media, he said that the question of the Essequibo is not on the agenda to speak about. He will, of course, take his chances with the International Court of Justice, and Maduro is of a different view, and those two divergent positions remain unresolved. What was achieved there was, of course, the two leaders, rather than being on television and seeing each other by, of course, a video and social media and of course traditional media, they were in the same room physically talking. That in itself is a tremendous, of course, achievement. I want to agree. And, of course, all credit to Gonzalez, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent. But the substantive matter still remains. And, of course, they have agreed to meet in Brazil on the next occasion to, of course, have this kind of discourse, but on matters not connected to the substantive issue of the Essequibo and how it should be resolved and where it should be resolved and what the mechanism you would use in order to generate the resolution that clearly is a bone of contention on either side of the border. What we know for sure is that the Americans are sluggishly and, of course, firmly in the camp of the Guyanese, and the Venezuelans know that. And whether they have the largest army in South America or not, they know that they don't want to have a war with the United States. They know that. And it's only because of that factor that he has not ignored even Gonzalez's request for at least peace and talking in the same room and shaking hands as we are seeing now. Understand that. But of course, another matter came up from somebody who called earlier, and I thought I should share it with you now, because I thought it's only I was looking at it. Since Dr. Rowley had no role to play there, and since it was not a necessity for him to be there, because Gonzalez, I could play it, don't get me vexed, You sycophants, don't get me vexed, Gonzalez said in his that is about the Tuesday or Wednesday before, said in a press conference that the leaders of CARICOM don't have to be there. But if they wish, they can take the opportunity to be, but they didn't have to be there. And why would I be so insistent that we abreast ourselves of that fact that was said? Why? Because the Jamaican Prime Minister was not there. The Jamaican Prime Minister, and one would have expected of all of the major players in the region that the Jamaican Prime Minister, clearly you can't leave out the Jamaican. It's the largest territory as far as the, apart from Guyana, of course, but the largest island with over 2 million people, twice that of Trinidad and Tobago, and it has some clout in terms of its leadership, would have been expected to be there. But the Prime Minister of Jamaica was not there. So therefore, the fellow called Brown, could talk now, he could talk just now, he could talk yesterday, he could have spoken today. So notice I'm just mixing it up just to make a mockery of the nonsense that he would have spoken, as is usual. Any porter for a political storm to, of course, attract some kind of political fodder. Yes, some kind of political leverage, some kind of political opportunity. But their days are numbered. They have been showing that they are more desperate, and as the day draw closer to, of course, 2025, we are seeing them more and more desperate. So we know that we have them to hang, so to speak, to use a local parlance or expression. A pleasant good night to welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Mr. Lennox, and all the listeners and viewers and the critics.
Yes, good night to you as well. Yes.
Mr. Lennox,
yes,
Venezuela is a sovereign nation, and we cannot dictate what go on there. But Guyana is a banana republic. We could bully them. But Mr. Lennox, when I have gas in my water, in my territory, and a madman, telling me I can't touch it, how you want me now to go and make him feel that I against him by calling a meeting, right? And signing when I lobby in United States of America to ease the sanction and not to be a partisan on any side. I have to be neutral. I have to appear neutral because United States is watching me to see if which side I am moving and who I am pushing. But $1 trillion is not nice to leave behind, you know. And you will fight tooth and nail to get $1 trillion for yourself. So when Rowley is doing just like what he does to his supporters, the PNM supporters, the grassroots, he just only use them, and when he could get the opportunity to be in power, he loves them. But really and truly, he just want the treasury and the revenue from this country that generate, and he don't care about them. But I wonder if we got to follow the money, a couple $1 million for head of directors going and spend for the Christmas season, eh? And that is the secret in being successful. I wonder if somebody goes shopping and they using my bank card outside there, boy, because it's US, you know. So, Mr. Lennox, Rowley is just making himself a fool. He leave the PNM supporters, the true voters and the loyalists, like fools. And I want to ask you a question, Mr. Lennox.
Go ahead.
Between a slave catcher and a slave seller, which one is worse? Have a good night.
Well, of course, the man that initiated it, the blasted catcher. That's what I mean, because without the catcher, you can't sell. But of course, that seemed to be a rhetorical question. But I said all of that to say, and I think the last caller has, of course, encapsulated it. Even though it may not be as pellucid or as of course articulate as what I'm going to say now, and that is just like some of you, I am wondering, and I will not be surprised, what was the real reason for Rowley attending that meeting? And it could have been to be up close and one-on-one with the Venezuelans, because Delcy Rodriguez was sitting right behind the president. Now, I'm not saying that he could have gone directly to Venezuela and then make an excuse that he was going to talk about the gas and oil, as, of course, this fella, his sidekick, Young, said that he went to do. So I know that is an option. And, of course, it may well, of course, should I say, render less potent the argument as to why he would want to go there to meet and have an opportunity to meet with, of course, Delcy and the delegation from Venezuela. But it needs to be asked, simply because you cannot fathom and you cannot predict what next with this man, Rowley. And it may be that he went there to show, as one caller said, support for Maduro. It may well be. It may well be as well. Because I cannot see under normal circumstance. In other words, if he was not there and he absent himself, Maduro could have reached the conclusion that like Rowley on their side, or he has abandoned me. So he goes there to, of course, put in a presence, prepared to be a spectator, full stop. So we will see. All of that will come to fruition and will come to reality in the not too distant future. Let's go quick, of course, to the start of this, and let's, of course, look at the video.
Measures. 1. Unanimously. Pending a final decision in the case, the court indicates the following provisional measures. 1. Unanimously. Pending a final decision in the case, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela shall refrain from taking any action which would modify the situation that currently prevails in the territory in dispute, whereby the Cooperative Republic of Guyana administers and exercises control over that area.
Now to Venezuela, where people are voting in a controversial referendum
So it
that the
is
government
all over
hopes
the
will
globe.
strengthen its claim over a territory in neighbouring Guyana. The
Let's
non-binding...
take a pause and let's go back to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yeah, good night, and all those on the live. I want to change the subject a little bit.
No problem.
The Udicott had issued something when Munilal said that they make a smaller pitch in Skinner Park.
Yes.
Right, and they give some dimensions of the field that they made, and they say it was of international standard.
Yes.
Do you have those measurements?
No, I don't. But as you speak,
All right.
I will take a look, see to find it. It's very easy to find. No,
All right.
no big thing.
All right. Okay, so I will give you the international length and width of pitches according to FIFA.
Okay.
And the English Premier League pitches also, right? So the length is 100 meters up till 110 meters.
Okay.
So the least should be 100 meters up to 110 meters. The width
square width
should be...
Okay, go ahead.
No, are dealing with width, right?
Okay.
No, that is length.
Length. Okay.
Length is 100 meters up to 110 meters. That is the length. So it will vary within that.
Okay.
Right. And the width now is 64 to 75. It will vary within that. That is the width. Meters, that is meters.
Yes, meters, yeah.
Right. So in the English Premier League, the length is, most of their pitches is 105 meters in length up to 115 meters in length.
Okay.
And width is 68 meters to 74 meters.
Okay.
Right, that is how the international standard. But
Yes.
to me, like when I hear Udicott give that to me, like they mention 90 meters or some kind of thing like that. I don't know where they get that from in the length or something. Something like that. I heard them say. So I say, but I
think when Muilal, of course, in his own inimitable style, presented in the most comic of description, he said that when they kick a corner, it's almost into the goal. It's almost near the goal post.
yeah.
I mean,
Because
just imagine that alone. A corner near the goal post. But go ahead. I thought it was a bit hilarious when he said that.
No, well, I just call it to give you this because I researched it in FIFA. In FIFA, length of pitches and whatnot, right?
Yeah, I'm going to take note and I'm going to make the comparison, yes.
And listen what Udicott said. Yeah. To me, is a far different cry to what is really international pitches.
Okay, go ahead. You have that too? Go ahead. You have it?
No.
You have it. I'll get it from Muilal. I'll get it from Muilal because I longed to hear when he said that the fella who kicking the ball, he foot nearly inside of the goalpost from the
because it's too narrow.
Yeah, first the corner distance from the goalpost is so short that when he went up and he kick, his foot can end up inside the goalpost. I mean, that's a graphic way of demonstrating the ridiculousness of these people. And Udicott end up saying that it wasn't for international standard, it wasn't to play, but it was a sort of recreational area, having been, of course, found short. And we know that major cricket tournaments are played there already, particularly, of course, when we had the regional tournaments. And that used to be played at Garakara.
And in Skinner Park,
in Skinner Park, yes, and in Skinner Park.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
So they have no argument, but that's the kind of foolishness, and the pretending to be bright when in fact they should be hiding their faces because it's egg all over it, preferably not fried egg, not boiled egg, but rotten egg.
All right.
All
Okay.
right.
Listening off air.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's the comic strip that we have. And these fellas, all of them, women and men, should be, of course, auditioning this week, this last month of the year. Carnival is just now, and try to replace these comedians that are making money all over the place. Maybe it might be a better profession for them because the kind of nonsense that they speak is better. Of course, they audition for Larry Joseph and Tommy Joseph. I understand he's under the weather, so I'm not going to make any sort of insensitive comments because he's under the weather. But certainly that will come across any conscientious Trinbagonian mind because these fellas, they are total lunatics. And justifying that nonsense. In fact, I think Moilal went on to challenge him. He said he will sponsor a particular game, and let's see if, of course, somebody, when they try to kick a corner, the boots or the instep stick inside the goalpost, so first it close. But that being as it may, that is how I interpreted it. However, that's my interpretation. Let's go back to the lines and take another call. Present. Good night. Welcome.
All right,
to the
Lennox, how you going?
I'm all right, my friend. I'm having some fun here tonight. Yeah. Fella kicking a corner and the boots could stick in the goalpost. That's just how near the goalpost is to the corner point.
I remember David Nackett and Robert doing an assessment around, and the money they spent for it just is worth it.
Yeah, that is that is what is debilitating and horrendous and totally unacceptable. Go ahead, my friend.
So much hundreds of millions of dollars spent behind that place.
Yeah, 100 and something million. It's so large a number I can't remember, but go ahead.
Yeah, but I was trying to tell you, it's not a wasted taxpayers' money.
Yes.
You understand? Because I don't know what to say now, but they're just taking things and making it worse. Anything they touch, they do that. Making it worse for us. It's still in old mass right now.
And they're going to get more and more desperate. They're going to get more and more desperate, and they'll continue to make these faux pas, which have, of course, is good fodder for criminal investigation. But go ahead.
Well, for the party, 8 years of doing that, Lennox. 8 years of doing that, and the public has been forgiven to them, especially their supporters. And they do that for COVID and all the other things. They wreck the economy, no investment coming in this country, everything falling apart. And they're not seen about supplying goods and services to the people of this country at all. People suffering. Look, the business community getting them share now because these so-called public servants are supposed to get their back pay or whatever it is they have to get. Most of them ain't getting it. So the business community ain't getting no kind of finances trickling down to them because of that. And then we see all these other shenanigans taking place all around the place with one sort of thievery and stealing and all kind of things done by courts and all this place. This policeman who he was James Bond, he have a license to kill. He's shooting people like if they in the wild west. Yeah? I mean that fella this police service is a joke, you know. If that was in the whole place, that man they done arrest him, put him behind bars,
Oh yeah.
And we move the police you know. Only down here they're talking about the people come to rob him. Where they gone? Where they hold him up with slingshot? Rubber band? Where they hold up the man with? The man was running a con out of that place, right? He conned the people go on there asking back for their money. He see that they shouldn't ask back for nothing. He decided to shoot everybody down and kill them. You go tell me that, and then people bowling, that is why you shouldn't give people no firearm users license. What stupid is they talking? I have nothing to do with no firearm users license. They're not, these are separate matter. This man was doing things and he get caught and he just pulled that gun to shoot the people on them down because he thought he shouldn't be opposed to what he was doing. And he decided to kill everybody. He's a murderer. That is what he is, and the police protecting that man. But I believe if there's any kind of camera footage of that incident that if courts have it and they give it up to the police, there's some injunction to be filed against the police service to bring forth that camera footage because we want to see what really happened there. That man is not squeaky clean. Yes, questions to answer, and the police cannot protect that man. But if he did is two different gangs in this country, the criminal gang and the police gang, they must surrender that man to be arrested, By this week, he must be in jail. I ain't taking that too,
Well, I understand that he has been kept in custody. We are yet to find out what the details are, but what is coming out of the incident in terms of information is very disquieting, and the use of the uniform to generate criminal behavior clearly is. It reminds me of that incident in Port of Spain when a police officer was stopped by a traffic warden, and he arrested her instead and handcuffed her. Well, of course, he felt the wrath of the system that would not, of course, countenance such a blatant attempt to put yourself above the law. But I suppose that was another case there. That was another case. But in this case, it was extremely fatal. 2 persons died, and 3 others have been, of course, wounded. So that is very troubling. And we just had 7 of them before the courts in a sting operation where they tried to fleece some monies from a businessman somewhere there out in, I think, it is Tagarigua, not Tagarigua, the village that is further up. I think they were held at the 5 Rivers police station.
And don't forget they had some police and army went in some man place and home invade the man, thief the man stuff, and then went back and sit down in the police station and the man went to make a report.
Yes.
And them was right there.
Yeah, they were. But I understand the soldier, they held the soldier, but he was released. So I don't know, but I'm sure that he would have been released on his own reconnaissance. But certainly the investigation, I suspect, will continue, because it may be a simple case of a queer scenario of mistaken identity. And and that technicality might have gotten that person off. I'm just speculating because that happens, but let's see how that too evolves as the weeks and days transpire.
Weeks and days, Lennox. This is how you deal with crime in our society.
Yeah, in Trinidad, of course, in Trinidad are talking about. So why you think I skip days, weeks and days? You see, you saw what was happening. You saw what has happened with the report. I ain't talking about the inquiry itself and how long it lasted. The report. It exists before Rowley left the country for the United States, and it still has not reached the Parliament nor the public.
This is why the wheels of justice will move slower than a snail. A snail will move faster than the wheels of justice in this land.
Yeah.
You understand that? Rowley
and them don't mind that. Rowley don't mind that once they are on the receiving end. If it is that it is for somebody else, then it moves expeditiously. We have seen that, of course, with Anand Rablogan and Ramdeen. He Rowley was up and down the place saying that, of course, they get a big fish or big fishes. The plural of fish is fish, but I suppose it's 2 different kind of persons. So you could talk fishes. But the fact of the matter is that he was up and down the place talking about Vincent Nelson and the fact that he was assisting them, the government, obviously, in, of course, putting handcuff and imprison members of the former administration of Kamala Prasad Bisesa. When the information broke and the DPP decided to, of course, withdraw the matter, he then say he ain't know nothing about it. He claiming ignorance. He claiming the Second Amendment that I know nothing. He is Schultz in, of course, in Hogan's Hero. I know nothing. I see nothing. But of course, all the time he was saying that the man is helping them. And of course, the cabinet doesn't know, but trying to shield the cabinet. That's why I say that the entire government of Trinidad and Tobago, the cabinet, must be held culpable at the appropriate time in terms of criminal investigation into all of them, having regard to what they have done to this country in a most criminalistic and most devious, wicked, diabolical, and of course unsavory manner that requires them to face, of course, the criminal justice system and be imprisoned.
They suffer from political amnesia, Lennox. Political amnesia.
Yeah, conveniently, as he just sent Al-Rawi to another post, and he done with that and believe that that's all he has to do. Yes. Don't mind me. Why he meet you in patio? That's what the old people say. Rowley know that. What I meet you in patio. Go ahead, Rowley. You go ahead.
According to the fella before, they shift the goalpost.
Yeah, they shift
right?
the goalpost.
And pass it on to Limo, because Limo is a
he himself is questionable in terms of his character, in terms of his suitability for the office of this pristine and sacred position of Attorney General in a democracy such as ours, with a constitution that is nestled in republicanism, but at the same time fundamental principles, including human rights and the high standard of what is considered to be public office integrity. They have none. They have none.
When you see January hit this country, the people of this country go to ball, I know what I'm telling you.
Of course, the multiple pressures.
Was it incompetent? Minister of Finance say he had 200 and something thousand people that made out property tax form to, and you only have 33,000 or so far.
Well, tomorrow 300,000 was supposed to get the checks too. Anyhow, somebody is calling, so I'll have to preempt you. All right? Yes. Sorry about that. Of course, we will talk as much as we can, so long as no one else wants to come in. So I've preempted that particular call. A caller, call back. So sorry about that. I saw the call. So if you wish, you can call back. Of course, once again, I have 2 more minutes. So once again, I'm unable, of course, to play that video with respect, of course, comprehensively as far as I can. And then at the end of the day, of course, what we did tonight, however, is discuss the role of Rowley, and we have seen that from many angles, and to show that it's clearly some kind of showboarding in order to show up there to let Maduro and them know. This is my considered view, that he is there because the Prime Minister of Jamaica is not there because the initiative was a Vincential Prime Minister initiative in its capacity as the head at this time of the community of Latin American and Caribbean states, CELAC. And of course, the Scarrett was there as well, head of the CARICOM, current chairman. He was there as well. And of course, Mayor Motley was there, invited to the podium, invited to the head table, but not Rowley. He had to stay as spectator. But mission accomplished as far as he's concerned. That is my position, being just his presence there. Because if he wasn't there, it might have telegraphed to the Venezuelans that he has abandoned them and of course, stiffly, solidly in the corner of the CARICOM, which he says that is where Trinidad and Tobago's position is. But it is very convenient because it does not individualize him and pull Trinidad out of the matrix, because he is in the presence or in the number of all of the Caribbean countries. But if he had pulled himself out, as he would have been expected to do, he would have had, of course, to pursue a course to talk into Maduro only, because he doesn't have the integrity nor the nor the respect, nor the acceptance by the Guyanese, even though Guyana is part and parcel of the CARICOM. Very simple, no big analysis. So tomorrow, of course, what I'll do, I'll start with the video itself, the president of the court, and then, of course, the various networks across the globe, and commending, of course, Ralph Gonzalez for his, of course, peace initiative, and preempting and avoiding, of course, what could have been yesterday outbursts of conflict in the region, and all kinds of other scenarios would have emerged from that, including, of course, the possibility, as Rowley did when he brought Delcy Rodriguez into Trinidad at the airport, Piarco Airport. World War III could have started there because, of course, she came in on a sanctioned plane. Her boss is wanted. She is wanted. A number of course, Peter Vesta officials were there, wanted as well, or were sanctioned. So, and Rowley risked straining our relationship with the Americans, even though for American reasons, the administration would tolerate Rowley, because it is in the Americans' interest to try to get as much support for the industries in Europe, the European allies of the Americans, having regard to the fact that the pipeline that was supplying a substantial, I think it's about 20% of their gas and energy needs, came from Russia. So people, we have come to the end. I trust that you would have had an enlightening exercise tonight, as so many other nights. But tomorrow, of course, I'll try my best to start with the video dealing with this, the chronology of this entire sort of affair. Rowley, nowhere to be found. Yeah, I say the government of Trinidad and Tobago, nowhere to be found. Humiliated, beaten down, but they will continue, of course, to try to hoodwink us into believing that they had a part to play. You heard Amy Brown, as he tried to, of course, bellow the fantasy and the illusions that is stereotypical of not only Rowley, but his entire cabinet. That is how despicable this crop of indolent, incompetent, impotent, and, of course, clearly mismanagers of our affairs, and arrogating unto themselves a position that clearly can only be equal to not only an emerging criminal entity, but the capturing of government and the capturing of arms of the state in this coup that they have committed and continue to commit, called an auto coup. That's what they are engaged in, auto coup. Capturing the mechanisms of government to stay in government, do us evil, and tell themselves and the world that they are doing good. And the country, of course, is deteriorating and going to hell in a gasoline-soaked paper bag. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. And, of course, don't forget tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself, as we continue to deal with these and other issues that as they come forward and that we have to grapple with on a daily basis in this country. Crime and criminality, murders notwithstanding. What, 547? You have to add 2, so that's 549 murders on this day, the 18th of December 2023. We anticipate 600. So, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Bye-bye.
Each other.
so high. She loves you bacchanal, but the end is always natural.
Gucci, 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 la la. No pepper in the china. Don't know nothing about no pastel. Cannot speak Spanish very well. Gucci, la la. Gucci, la la. Gucci, la la. Gucci, la. Gucci, la la. Gucci, la la. Gucci, la la. Gucci, la.
That Betty start to whine. Action was a real blow mine. With such grace and style, all our granny gone wild. Yeah, if police hold she tail, she not going to make no jail. She follow no rubbish mirage, and you get she off the chart.
Gucci, 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 la la. Put more pepper in the china. Don't know nothing about the pastel. Cannot speak Spanish very well. Gucci, la la.
See Betty wine, la la. Look Betty grind, la la. Oh Betty dance, la.
Gucci, la la.
See Betty wine, la la. Look Betty dance, la la. See Betty prance, la. And I dance